What's up guys, TheDandyHoneyBadger here, and we're doing the patch notes review for patch 3.21, Arbiter of the Damned. As always, we're looking at the skins quickly and the other stuff, and then we go into the balance as usual, basically. So, we got Thoth, whatever you want to call him. Thoth is what I stick with, but I'll forget. That's his default skin. That's his recolor. We have Sylvanas, I think it's called, it's not called Desperado in the end, but you know what it is. The cactus one. Then we have the new skin for Terra. Very, very different from what we've seen before. We have the Baron Frostchild Ymir skin. Sadly, a few nearly default animations, but some cool stuff. We have Chibi Hades, which is incredible in-game, I would say. And he's part of the digital loot pack for this year's SWC, as well as this Amaterasu skin, which I think is really cool. This Apollo skin, which I think is alright. And this Capri skin, which I don't know. Then we also have Kamazot's gold skin, mastery skins, and the same for Sylvanas. So that's just all the skins. And with that, let's jump into the balance stuff. We have Thoth. And Thoth has been changed a little bit from the data mining. So interesting stuff here. Starting with the passive, Dead Reckoning. Every time Thoth kills an enemy, either guard or minion, he gets a stack. And these stacks give him penetration. So if he gets 30 stacks, he gets 5 penetration. So I think on the PTS it's actually 4. I don't know which it's going to be in the end, but either way, he ends up, I think, with either 25 flat pen according to this, or 20 flat pen according to what is in game. It is not the best passive in my opinion because it takes quite a while to stack. And it's just flat pen, but what it does, it allows him to go into CDR boots, have more mana, have more CDR, which works very well with his kit overall, so I can understand where it's coming from. You won't need pen boots on him, you can just go into CDR and then straight into percentage pen, and you can build CDR boots, Book of Thoth, and then Obsidian Shard. Ability 1, Hieroglyphic Assault. So what he does here is he basically changes stance and does a different kind of basic attack. His basic attacks no longer hit structures, but they go through everything and they get amplified ability damage. They don't do on-hit effects. So they wouldn't probably do poly either. There's ability number 2, which is basically Ram's Dash, Ponderous Escape. But it can be used in every direction. Not what it was in the data mining, not something that you can put on the ground, but rather just a dash in a direction. Followed by another basic attack that goes through targets and slows them and has extra damage. Problem here, you're blowing your only escape when you use it. Ability number 3 is Glyph of Pain, which is some wall on the ground that amplifies his abilities. It increases the range of all of his abilities, including the escape, and gives them more damage. And it increases the damage of abilities from allies that go through the glyph as well. I'm not sure if this works for melee attacks and stuff as well. That's something to figure out, but it definitely works for ranged attacks. And you can actually get 2 of them on the ground at the same time. I'm not quite sure what happens when you do with enough CDR. Really short cooldown, 5 seconds, whereas the 1 is also on a short cooldown, which is 8 seconds, and the 2, the escape, is a longer cooldown with 18 seconds. And the ultimate is Final Judgment, which is basically a charge up. You can imagine similar to Janus, which gets these glyphs over time that charge up and show up on screen. But it can be cancelled at any point, and that allows you to just recharge it and basically play mind games with your enemies. What's crucial is that his ultimate can also be amplified by the Glyph of Pain. The range can also be increased. And both the 1 and the ultimate can go through walls as well. I'm not quite sure about the 2, but at least the 1 and the ultimate. And that allows him to snipe really, really well. So very interesting stuff. I just read here that thanks to Fantastic, 2 of the Glyphs of Pain on the ground don't do anything additionally, apparently. Okay, we got the skins, we showed you that. I'm gonna show you the voice packs real quick here.
The trick to riding this uncomfortable lump is some good riding, chaps. I'm sorry, amigo. You know I appreciate you.
I hope it's a little more quiet there for you than it is for me.
I wouldn't think of doing anything stupid if I were you.
I'd be lying if I said I was delighted to meet you all, but honestly, I'd rather be at the old pub.
I think this one is really cool because it really sounds like Ymir still, but also very different.
Why do they call it championships? Ships can't become champions!
Interesting enough, this actually has its own voice pack and a very cringy joke. With that, we got a Bakasura dance mode, which is breakdance, so it's really cool. Achievements for Vamana. And then obviously the Odyssey content, which we showed above, skins. Spectators changed a little bit, which is nice, looks a little cleaner. And in-game streaming for Facebook is now a thing, question mark. But oh well. The SWC Digital Loot Pack, just as an overview again, you have the Chibi Hades, Amaterasu skin that I showed you, Apollo skin that I showed you, and the Capri skin that I showed you. You also get a limited ward skin, a global emote, a recall effect, and a divine chest roll. So quite a lot in there, but it's going to be 1,500 gems as well, so not that cheap. Then we have the item changes. Heartseeker just gets an issue fixed. That was the thing with Mercury and Neath ult, where you could charge up the ultimate, cancel it, and still get the effect of it. Nothing major, really. Only Hunter's Garb gets a buff, and it might now be more interesting. CCR, so crowd control reduction, increased up to 20%, so an extra 5%. And the passive now provides 10 magical protection every 6 seconds, max 5 stacks. Before that, it was 15 every 10 seconds, if I recall correctly. So a little more overall, a little more defense, but not significantly. And it stacks in more instances, meaning that given that only one instance is taken away, that will be a lot more magical defense overall. Because you're not going to lose 15 magical protection every time, you're going to lose 10, and it takes 5 abilities and basic attacks in total to completely get rid of the defense. Then we have Spirit Rope. Spirit Rope gets a nerf. The passive now only happens every 15 seconds instead of 10 seconds. Very justifiable. Spirit Rope is ultra strong, best defense item in the game, along with Height of the Urge, in my opinion. Almost always seen in the Pro League. There you go. Gets a nerf. No surprise. Chiron. Chiron gets a little buff because he was underperforming. Very understandable. CDR on the training exercise is down by 2 seconds. Good. Helps him a little bit with clearing and stuff like that. A little bit with poking. Centaurus is now faster. A little bit more projectile speed, so it's a little easier to hit that, which I think is good. Good change. Nothing crazy, but pushes him up a little bit. Olang Shen gets a bit of a nerf. The root and cripple on his pin go from up to 1.75 down to 1.3 at all ranks. Now, you know that some of the pro players and stuff haven't really maxed the pin anymore. Some of them have still leveled at second. Some of them have even seen players just forego to third. For those, it's actually a buff. For those who max the pin earlier, which especially many players that don't feel completely safe on the guard yet do, it's a nerf. Is it going to put him out of his current place? I don't think so, but it's a bit of a nerf. Maybe a little less viable in support now. Freya. Freya is the big question mark and what the fuck of this patch. Freya gets something that they think is supposed to be a nerf, maybe? I don't know. Banish. Adjusted banish duration from 1 up to 2 seconds to 1.5 seconds at all ranks. Updated visual effects will show when banished target will fall. Mana cost reduced from 75 to 70 down to 50. So what this means in total is you have longer banish for the majority of the game, because this is always going to be the ability you max last on Freya. So it's going to be a buff for your whole early and mid game. You're going to have less mana cost from the first rank on. And there's a visual that, I guess, helps everyone a bit, but probably helps your team more than the enemy team. It's a straight up buff. And Banish was, Freya was not underperforming. Freya was overperforming. Freya was a high priority ban. There's no reason for this. I don't understand this. They could have touched 2. They could have touched the 1. Scaling changes. Touching the Banish. So be it. Hou Yi. Hou Yi is a logical change. Hou Yi was a bit underperforming because of his nerfs. So Sunbreaker now slows everyone inside the ultimate for 20% each 0.5 seconds. For 0.5 seconds when they get hit. And the mark target is slowed by 40%, also with the same duration increase. So double the slow for the mark target, which I think is fair. It's good. Kali had a glitch where she couldn't select her target, or where people could disconnect to be untargeted and stuff like that. So there you go. Just fixes for that. Kukulkan Slipstream gets a buff, which I think is kind of big. Now the Slipstream starts at 40% movement speed from earlier on 20, and then highest rank goes up to 80% instead of 40, so doubled. And it's decays over time, so you slow down over time. So you initially really fast, and then you slow down. It's going to be very speedy. And I think it's going to be really cool to see that, how that feels in-game. But I think overall it's going to be a buff to him, and it's going to help him a decent amount. Neith gets some fix for the weave, so you can tell between enemies and allies. That's basically it. And audio from other Neith skins, nothing major. Susano is back. Susano gets a slight buff on the Stormcutter, which is the removal of the pre-fire change, which no one really liked. I think even most people that hate Susano don't really like that Stormcutter change, because it's just strange. It was clunky as hell. And if you hate the guard, you never want to see him again, okay, sure. But if you feel like it should still be a normal feeling guard while playing, and you're not for clunkiness, then this is a good change. Similar, Typhoon. Typhoon now changes visually when it can knock up, and it knocks up after 1 second. So you don't have to wait the whole duration to knock up, but you still have to wait. You can't just dash it out, like bash it out as you could early on. So it's somewhere in between, and I think that's a good place for him to be. And I don't think it's going to make him OP. It's going to make him a significant amount stronger again. And that's fine, because he still got the major nerf on the 1 at least. Terra also gets a major nerf. Monolith can now be destroyed by using 3 basic attacks. And this means that you cannot heal that easily anymore, because enemies will just attack the Monolith. They probably won't get minion aggro when they do, because it's just a structure like a Bracken Wall. And as such, that's going to be a major nerf. That's going to affect her play. It's not going to affect her out of combat heal so much if you're not very deep in your backline. Interesting how that feels in game, but I feel like it's going to put a little bit of a damper on Terra. Xbalanque gets mana cost reduced for both branching bola, excuse me, and poison darts. So he's got a little more early pressure. It's not as fast into MP5 basically, and that's it. That's it for this patch notes. Still waiting for that real Freya nerf, but oh well. Quite a few guards that haven't been touched, but overall a very good patch. Most of the changes I think are very justifiable, very, very good ones. And with that, thank you guys for watching. Duke Sloth out. I'll see you all tomorrow, and because we have this end screen thing now, and I can't really do that right now, but I can do that after this is set up, I'll just keep talking a little bit, because you can now click my Twitch, my YouTube, my videos for the new guard probably down below, and check that out. And I'm just going to sit here for a second, and this should be roughly 20 seconds for the end screen, and we're ending here.